Hello, welcome back to 3D Drawing for Model Railway. In today's lesson, I'm going to look to add the detail to the lower of the body frames here. So there's one underneath here. And looking on the pictures we've got like a slatted floor, and it looks like there's a total of 4 slots, and they pretty much run the whole length of the wagon. And there's some cross members that go across as support as well. Wherever there's also the cable drum, there's also a like a checker plate that goes underneath that looks like it just provides some sort of footing as they're lowering this in for the workmen to stand potentially. So that's what we're looking to add in today. So we're just going to try and follow that along, adding in the details as we go. So as I say, we've got 4 slots here. And because we're only working on a quarter of the wagon, we've only got to do 2 of them. And so what I'm going to do is sort of divide this into 3, so the distance across here into 3 is 7.28 millimeters. And we're going to draw a sketch on this bottom surface, and we're snapping to the inside of the wagon frame, so not the end of the buffers, to the other, snapping to the other end. I'm just going to draw, make sure it doesn't snap to the midpoint there. I'm going to draw 2 slots like that. Okay, now what we want to try and do is make the spacing between them all even. Okay. So looking at the size of these bracings that goes across, I would say they look about 12 inches or so. So if we look at these parts here to be 2 millimeters, that'd be that one, that gap. And this gap here, we only need to be 1 millimeter because the other millimeter will be on the other side of the wagon. That then obviously leaves these as uneven spaced, which we've got 1.229, 1.779. I think that's about 1.5. No, 1.49. 1.49 will give us 1.49 on that one as well. Yeah, you won't be able to define that because it's over constrained with the rest, but that's essentially going to leave the slots as about what's that work out? 9 inches in width. So I'm going to be happy with that. They go all the way to the end, so we will have to come all the way up to the end on it. So if we just constrain these to the end here, like that, and then we could select those 2 extrusions, and we're going to extrude those through to the other side. If we look on the picture as well, we have got this kick plate that goes across the end here, so we can add that in. So that's going to come across here. See how it splits into 3 bodies now, unfortunately. So we're just going to draw this plate across here, and this surface there. If we use that slice tool, it goes all the way through. Just drawing a rectangle from there. It won't snap to the far one yet. If we drag like that, we can then slightly constrain that to the end there. And we can give it a width of 0.5, so it's 0.6, sorry. So it's the same as this here. You could define it like that. If you didn't want to, what you could do is delete that constraint there. If we move this back in slightly, you could also constrain, constrain that corner point to that corner point, so they'll be the same when you change these. If we select the profiles there, I'm just going to extrude that up slightly. And have a look at the picture. About 12 inches or so, I'd say. So we're going to come up by about 2 millimeters. Click on OK. Unfortunately, I don't know a way to turn off that slice tool except for going through the extrusion or finishing the sketch. If anyone does know it, then yeah, please give me a shout, but I haven't yet been able to find anything to tell me how to do that accurately. Okay, so we've now got that kick plate, and we've now got these all separate parts. If we look at the photo, it does have some cross bracing going across, so we can draw those in. Now, I'm going to have a quick look, see if I've got any pictures that show how many braces there are. A good picture from up above would be nice. So it looks like there's one either side of these uprights and then one in the middle. So yeah, definitely one either side of these braces here. So we can draw those on to start with. So we're going to be drawing on that inside wall there. I'm going to slice through so we can see it. I'm going to draw two rectangles either side of this base. I'm going to do them as 0.5mm by 1mm, and one on this side as well. And then I'm going to find the distance from the inside edge of that to that upright there, and I'm going to put that as 0.8mm. I think same on that one. Go to that edge, 0.8mm, and then we can extrude those. Again, this is where you want that slicing to go off. So click on OK, go back into the extrusion. We can change the distance to come all the way to that far side. I'm just wondering about lowering the top surface of them actually, whether it'll be okay like that, because I don't think you'd notice much difference. I'm going to go with that, I think. Okay, and then we've got to pattern these across. So if we do rectangular pattern and then select the features that we've just drawn, we'll do that. It's going to do the whole thing. Okay, so let's go back into there, edit the feature, we'll change them to new bodies, click on OK, and rectangular pattern, those features, direction horizontal, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, so we need 5 of them. .9, yeah, 23.9 puts it on the midpoint. Not worried about this one on the end here at the moment. I click on OK, and then I'm going to remove that one. So you can come down, highlighted the body 27, right click, remove that one, and then we can combine all the rest of them together into one body. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to add these extra ones in the middle here because it will just start to look a little bit too cluttered with thickness. Maybe what I'll do is actually just bring them in a little bit closer. If we just go back into here, edit the sketch, I'm just going to bring them a little bit closer to each other. So maybe 0.5 here, 0.5 there as well. Yeah, it looks like they're a bit closer together with a bit more gap in between them. I don't know whether to make them maybe a little bit thinner. Try it. Have a look. Let's edit sketch. And we'll make them 0.4. It's not a massive difference. It'll still print okay at that size. It just looks a little bit more refined, I think. Yeah, I'm happier with that, I think. Yep. So the next thing I'm going to add, there's a couple of diagonal cross bracings on the end here. So you can draw those on. Spin this round, we can draw on that inside surface. Now we only need to draw one here because it will be mirrored on the other side. I'm going to use the line tool here. It's already snapping to that surface there. You just need it to come up into the top surface. So looking at the angle, I'm going to go maybe something like that. don't know whether that maybe is a little high there. Maybe just reduce that height there. I'm just going to go back in the history actually. Edit that sketch. It's got to be already in sketch. This one. Yeah, it's that one. Yep. I'm going to reduce the height. I think we did 2, so I'm going to come down to 1.5. I think take half a millimeter off. Come back into this sketch, and I can just change that slightly in the angle. Constrain that to that line there. Let's define the angle between them as 40. Define the distance from the end. I'm going to go for 2 millimeters on that one, and then constrain that point to that line. Let's draw another line. So let's again snap into the bottom here. I want it to be parallel to that one. You can see when it's parallel, you get 2 little blue dotted lines coming up. There you go. It's constraining to the top. I can define the width between them. I'm going to go for 0.6, I think we said on this bracing here, didn't we? 0.6 on that. It's already then, as you can see, it's already selected and shaped it in, so we can just spin this round and we'll extrude it to the back surface there. The extra strength that the thickness will give us. Yep, happy with that. Okay, so now at this point, we've got to a point where the similarities between different wagons start to diverge from this point forwards. So we can, if we save this at this point, we can use this as a base model and then go back in and make any potential changes you wanted to make the potential of the variants that you require. Now I do intend to make a couple of variants. Specifically how many cradles they're going to have, so there's a difference between 3 cradles of 1 large and 2 small, or the other 2 wagons have 2 large cradles. You've also got variations in the railings that go around the end, so even between the 3 cradle wagons there's ones where the railing that goes around the end here comes all the way to the end. Let me just find you a picture. Right here, here's one. So it comes all the way to the end, up towards the end. If we find a picture of 976023, an example. You see how both of the 2 cradle versions, the railings are short and there's no plate on the end here. Now on this one you see you've got long railings with a plate, and on number 23, 27 to 23. So this has got 3 cradles. Okay, and you can see how the railings come short and there's no plating over the end. So we've got some variants that we need to account for. We've also got a variance in the position of these cradles compared to the drawing. So if you look on this picture here, you can see this cradle is clearly over the top of the second upright. Whereas if we look on here on the canvas, the second upright, the cradle is actually over the first. And the railings don't make sense either, because the cradle you would imagine to be between the railings here. So we're not going to be able to follow the drawing so much for copying this. I think this is just more like a line plan. But you can see how we're going to diverge from this point forwards, and then we'll make the different variants of the wagons to be able to model them. So we'll come back and start making those changes on the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed watching today, and thank you for following along.